That goes to June.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Is it full?
Yeah. Did you say Dave was coming?
We thought so.
I had told him that he was intent to be.
Okay. I know he gets his pulled away and stuff.
He doesn't always have control over
Right.
how he's spending his time.
We're pleased. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll call the transfer station meeting to order.
Big king of his.
Stay out there, let the road quiet. Thank you.
I thought Wayne Peterson was coming, but he's not here, and we can discuss a little bit the burn pit issue. I sent you a note with kind of, I guess, historical references as best he could. I'd asked Don Miller to put together anything he had. I was hoping he'd find something written up there, but there isn't any written records of much other than what we sent you as a sign. So, having said that, in the past, a long time ago, unfortunately these things don't get put to writing, and you need to do better at that in the future, but anyway, we had decided, collectively the towns, anyway, and I'll do this to the best of my recollection, that we wouldn't allow dump trucks to dump anywhere, construction or anything, dump trucks. And that was fine until we reconsidered shortly thereafter and said, well, that's kind of unfair. If I've got a pickup and I can go, you personally only own a one-ton truck. So we decided that any citizen that owned a one-ton truck, they would be able to take stuff up to the dumping mat. So that had been the policy. John Edgley happened to, about a month ago now, apparently, Don, maybe he'd gone up and was just chatting with Don, and Don had asked him, and John's policy, which was ours, I guess, had been that you could take that one-ton truck, not commercially, you couldn't go hire it and do it, you had your own brush, whatever, but you had to unload it by hand. The reason for that being, they had problems in the past, well, I guess it's still sometimes, you get a whole load of the dump truck and you don't know, it looks good on top, but you don't know what's underneath it, and they were getting materials that were too big, too long, and improper for the burn pit. Plus, when they dumped a big load, it was hard for them to manage getting it over the pile. So that's the situation we're in. Wayne had called me, and I've not seen this truck. Apparently it's a one-ton truck, but I guess it's extra big.
There's a long body.
Right. So it holds a lot more than a one-ton truck would. So I guess we need to, if whatever we need to adopt as a policy, I guess we need to adopt it so that Don knows what it is. I had explained to Wayne when he first called, because I think he'd come here too, probably, yes. And so I explained to him, I said, well, we have a meeting scheduled, we're going to meet for a little while. I said, if you have a problem, immediately you need to go up there, let me know, and we'll try to make an accommodation for you. And he didn't seem to think he had an immediate need to go. At least he didn't indicate to me he did, so he knew we were meeting, and I thought we'd be here anyway. So that's where we are. I guess, I don't know, Don, do you have anything to add?
No, just what I wrote in the letter, because it's what you said.
Right, that's what we sent out to you. So it would seem to me, I don't know, what do you think? Establish the policy as to what the practice has been, I guess, or?
Yeah, so I got a couple things. First of all, I can make it for sure. You know your job gets you tugging it all different ways at all different hours, so glad you were able to make it. I got no problem. If you guys are comfortable with one sitting at the table, I have no problem with that. It might be easier than shut up in the back of the room.
No, that's fine.
And so I think that, as far as this issue, I think that what we realize, in my mind, if we don't have an approved policy in existence, we don't have policy. So that's what I'm here to.
It's not enforceable if we don't.
So that's where I think I'm all about being a starting point to do that. And it seems like the real issue is that trucks that can just mechanically be unloaded with stuff that we can't even see, and we end up in a burn pile with trouble. Because we've got, dorm-sized refrigerators that we found in there, and other things.
Plus even wood could be, I mean, just even wood is.
Right, and painted wood and.
And that if we have a policy that we can craft a policy that will allow us to keep that kind of stuff, whether it's intentional or unintentional, from happening, then it's in everybody's best interest. And so what I'm hearing as far as this issue wasn't so much about size of the truck, and Don talks about how, then we end up with larger trucks and trailers come in and start getting wheelers, we lose control over what's dumped. If it's, I don't know how other transfer stations handle it, but to me, it seems like if our policy is that anybody dumping in the pit must hand unload everything, then that will keep that type of abuse from
I
happening.
mean, obviously, the simplest thing to do would be to go back what we started, we would say you couldn't come with any dump truck, but I think that's unfair to people who,
Yeah.
that's their mode of transportation.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, if it's not written and it's not approved, and it's
Well,
not
no, we should write it, it just needs to be adopted, that's my question.
So I don't know if there's a need to weigh in with the size of a truck as much as there is a need to establish how those trucks are going to be unloaded, or if it's a combination.
Well, I think it's two
of
things. I think it should be
about it.
I think it should be the one time, which typical body is what, 6,
7 by 9.
7 by 9, and that has to be unloaded by hand.
I don't think they can with a wheel if they're gonna load it by hand.
Well, no,
Right, that slows it down enough so you can see what's going on.
That way you went.
Don, why don't you come up here, because I think Don's concern with leaving unloaded by hand then is it creates too big a pile for them to handle, especially if the burn pit's full and someone brings a wheel over and then adds that to it. I
I
usually,
highly doubt anyone's gonna bring a wheel and load it by hand.
So that's a separate issue that hadn't come up until just now about if we've got a truck up there, and even if it's unloaded by hand, then you've got a pile that's bigger than you can efficiently burn and push around and get ready to roll. So that's a new issue, second issue that came up right at the end of this conversation. So I think we all are on the same page here. We want to have something that serves the residents well, and also meets the needs of the staff up there trying to manage the facility. So, do we need to limit the size of a truck, or along with hand unload, or what's your sense on that?
Well, I imagine bigger trucks could come in, but it is hard because we only have the skid steer to push it, and we can't really be up there with them all the time,
Yeah.
pushing their stuff in.
Yeah.
And because we have so much other to do, and we just don't have the manpower to be everywhere. So it would be nice if we kind of kept it small. I do get the 14-foot trailers that come in, and they're rounded right up, which is close to what we live with.
And what do you tell them?
I tell them that we can't take it.
And what do you give them for a reason?
I tell them it's too big, and that it's been the rule, as far as I've known, nothing bigger than a 1-ton dump, which is the new 550s, I guess, or 7 by 9.
How often have you had to turn people away?
Just a few, not many. I turned a big trailer down, the guy rented it. And I had another big trailer that came down from Berlin but he was doing tree work for somebody in Jackson. And I told him it had to be in a smaller trailer.
And what kind of response did you get from them? Are they upset? Or?
Most people are fine with it. And, and when he brought that in, it was rounded right over the top.
Yeah.
So, Don, I'm sorry.
No.
Do you feel like it would work in the best interest of everyone and everyone working up there if we were to limit, keep the limit at 1 ton with the addition of it must be unloaded by hand? Or do you think that would solve the problem?
Yes.
Well, and the only thing I'll step in and say is that we're not keeping it at anything because there's nothing right now.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me, given what you're saying, that if we limit it to a 1-ton truck, that needs to be hand offloaded, and that's posted. Then
It's a personal truck. It's not like can't haul commercial.
Right.
You can't go and get the service. You're right.
To come in and,
Now, we do get like Forbes that comes in. Are we accepting them? Because we've always let them
It shouldn't. But that's it. Well, let's put it that way. I don't think we should.
Forbes working in one of the towns.
in. I asked them where it's coming from, and they say it's coming from town, but I have no idea if it is.
Right.
So I think that there should be one standard, and it's absolutely enforced, whether it's a resident or a business or whatever. I don't know that I feel that we should be handling that any differently, but that's just.
So do you want to put in the volume or the dimensions of the,
I don't know.
you know, because that gets into that gray area if a trailer comes in and it is 14 feet long
Yeah,
and he's loaded right up.
yeah.
So maybe we do say, okay, a 7 by 9 bed trailer or personal truck and no commercial.
Wait.
Yep, Gene. Turn late.
No, that's okay. We started, I thought you were going to, I wasn't sure. I put your first on the agenda, so you wouldn't have to sit for everything else.
I apologize.
We were discussing the whole situation, and as I told you, we couldn't find much of a established policy. It was all stuff we talked about and agreed to and how it was operated, but nothing truly official. So that's what we're trying to do. Just
That's not what I was told.
What's that?
I was told by one of the dump attendants that there was a letter from some official body regarding the size of material that could be.
Well, size of materials, that's a state law, the size of the material. But the fact of the size of the truck and that kind of stuff is not.
Okay, well,
Size of
that's what I was told, is that there was a letter saying from somebody
Right.
saying that I couldn't bring whatever size truck I had.
Well, no, that's not.
Okay, so that was a lie.
The state rules, we say what size brush, what it can be.
It's never been about the diameter of the brush, it's about the size of the truck.
Yeah, and that we've never had. We had well, I hate to call it a policy, but we had a procedure that we were following, but it was never written or an official thing. And that was, it had to be a one-ton truck, just a private individual only, no commercial stuff.
Right.
It had to be unloaded by hand. That has been the followed, accepted policy. We now need to make it, whatever we're going to do, we need to make it official, so it is a policy, that's all. So, what size is your truck? What's the body?
Sitting right up there, 12 foot long.
So it's 12, okay.
I was told that the body was too long.
Well, that's been, I don't know how to say this exactly, I guess I'm not being clear. It has been too long under the rules of the accepted practice that we've been operating on, yes.
My only issue with that is that I bought that truck in 2004, and the only time when I was turned away from the transfer station was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So to me, that's 12 years when...
Did your loads get bigger, or? So that's what we're trying to figure out, what to do. So I guess that's where we're at.
And Wayne brings in the exact situation that we don't want to restrict our residents, and that is his tribe.
Right.
But we certainly don't want to open it up to commercial use. And is there some place that a truck such as Wayne's would be acceptable? I think the hand unloading is part of the solution, because that certainly slows down the process. And you'll be able to observe, if there are painted boards coming off, or if there's trash or beer cans or whatever, furniture, refrigerators, all the stuff that somebody may try to do. I don't think we're trying to particularly restrict just that size. So if we can find the words that, keep it to town residents, I don't know, don't freight it right up, try to, if you have to make 2 trips. But I think the hand unloading is probably half the battle right there.
All right. Do you fill your truck up every time you go, or?
I don't bring one branch at a time, no.
Well, I think that, but...
Don't be sarcastic.
Don't ask relative questions. I mean, freight it right up, what does that mean?
I didn't say that. I said, do you fill it up every time you go, as much as you get on it? Or sometimes?
That's just as relative a question as my smart aleck response to the relative question of I don't bring one branch at a time. I mean, it depends on what I'm doing. If I've got 4 branches, put them in there. If I've got a pile of stuff, then I bring it.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to work with, is this is your truck, you are a resident, and you certainly would like to use the burn pit. So I'm not trying to restrict you from...
Well, you are if you say that I can't put
Excuse
the
me,
body
let
on.
me finish my sentence.
Sorry.
I'm not trying to restrict you from using your vehicle, your present vehicle, to do your work. And maybe if it doesn't go above the sideboards, that might be a way to limit the loads. I don't know. I'm looking for the words. I'm trying to find words that allow you to do your work with your truck and be agreeable to the transfer station.
I think that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that we don't get piles that are not monitored appropriately because you can't see in the middle, and the next thing you know, you've got a dorm-sized refrigerator in the pile and things you can't burn because you're not allowed to, and create all that. So, I think finding a way to limit how the thing's offloaded so that they're not put into a situation where they have to go through and sort out what's in the burn pile before they burn, and we're going to be in violation is reasonable. But at the same time, I want to make sure that all the residents or anybody that's using that are served reasonably as well. So figuring that out, what's that middle ground is, I think, really what the conversation is about.
I'm sorry to repeat this, just one question. What did you say the size of your body was?
12
12 by...
I don't know. Got a tape measure?
12,
7.
Actually, I do have a tape.
No, that's what I was supposed to... So, yeah.
So does everyone.
Go ahead.
If you're concerned about the transfer station attendants not burning dorm fridges, don't they generally make it a habit to push the pile up with a piece of machinery before they burn it? Don't you think that would be sort of obvious if the fridge rolled out of the pile?
Well, I think that's how they find that stuff, and then the next thing you know, it's time to get off the skid steer and haul this thing out of there and sort through it, and it does limit our ability to be efficient up there. I mean, that's staff input to us that I think is reasonable, and so it's just easier for them to kind of monitor what goes in there if it's not a big dumper that's just dumping a big pile and driving away, and they don't get to see it until 3 hours later when they get the skid steer in there to push it back. That's the kind of, I think, middle ground we're looking to establish here, so that people don't feel like they're being unfairly constricted as to how they use the brush pile, and at the same time, the staff is not put in a position where it becomes a real headache from time to time. Maybe, and who knows, I mean, maybe in 2004 people weren't doing that stuff, but here we are kind of addressing it today because it's happened, and we want to make sure that we don't, if we're going to craft a policy, that it meets both needs.
What's the largest size bed a one-ton truck can have? Does anyone know?
I don't know how bad it should be.
Why don't you ask Firm Foundations, they got a 1 ton with a pretty long bed on it. At least 20 feet. They put floorboards on it.
20 feet's pretty long.
I'm asking because I'm wondering, do we need to limit the weight of the truck and the length of the bed, or would the weight of the truck suffice?
What do you think, John? If we want to put some reasonable limits on it, is it the size of the bed more than tonnage?
And
I don't think it's the tonnage, it's just the size of the
Yeah.
load that's coming in. We have a skid steer, we have a window right there,
Yeah.
and like I said, we can't always be over there pushing it. and It comes in
Yeah,
all day long.
20 feet's pretty long. Ben or Earl, if you guys have any thoughts you want to weigh in on?
All I can tell you is when you hit something that's larger than 5 inches in that skid steer, you're doing this number looking at the sky. And that's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, all right.
Well, I don't think I have anything to add. Oh, I guess there's one comment. You know, these dump trailers, these 4-wheel dump trailers with electric dump trailer, should you consider them also in your policy?
Well, anything, if we adopt it, anything that has to be hand unloaded.
Okay.
That's the intention of saying hand offloaded, is that it limits somebody's ability to just dump the whole.
Right, they can't have a bunch of, butt-end logs hidden under the brush.
Right?
Thank you.
Current regulations limit size of the brush to 5 inches. I'm not sure why we're discussing that, because that's already a rule.
It is, we're discussing it because it happens. And we're trying to find a way to monitor the dumping so it does not happen.
Stumps and big pieces that tend to come in on trucks that dump it off mechanically are conveniently loaded in on the bottom where nobody can see them until the guy's gone. So I think that's... So if we limited it to like a
Hand on the
12-foot long bed, then...
But the other thing I was thinking, they need to come up with square footage.
yeah.
Something that's, you say, does this make be, I don't know what that is. In this case, it would be 84 by 4 feet, I guess that's 4 feet high or else. Yeah.
You write down my name when I bring a mattress. Couldn't you just write down my name when I dump the brush? So if I've nefariously hidden a stump underneath the bottom, you could say, come get your stump.
I guess other than if you get 3 or 4, well, I don't know if there's a way to
Yeah.
ascertain who dumped which load, that's all, I don't know that. I get what you're saying, but.
And then someone says, but that wasn't in my load, you must be mistaken, and then
Yeah.
we're chasing.
I think
Silly.
monitoring has to happen then. I don't think there's any after the fact. Call you back and say, it would become a 6-inch, an 8-inch, whatever.
The thing about the policy is that it takes the enforcement need away from the staff up there. I really don't think, they're up there providing a service, and if we end up expecting them to operate up there like enforcers, that gets sticky, and I don't know that that's really serve in the town well. To have somebody up there that wants to behave like they're so cynical that nobody can pull anything over on. I mean, we want to be up there helping and assisting people, but regardless, we need a policy that works for them and works for the residents. So back to, is it cubic foot, is it length of bed? If we said 12-foot bed and wanted to see how that worked through fall and winter and then revisit it in the spring, if we felt that it was still issues, to readjust the policy, if it was 12 foot and hand offloaded and that was appropriately signed everywhere, does that feel to us like it's reasonable?
It feels reasonable to me. How does it feel to you?
I would go with that wording.
And I think it would be smart to actually make sure it gets on a spring agenda for review too. And bring in people that usually
Right,
don't
to ask you how it works. Because I feel strongly with Bob that we don't want you in that enforcement position. If we have policies that are in place, that you can just say, this is our policy, and you don't have to bump heads with whoever's coming in, that's good. Because that isn't what you're supposed to be.
So as chairman, I can delegate this. Who wants to take a stab at writing this up? Bob? No, I don't. We're just someone to take the first draft, writing it, and then circulate it around, and then as soon as we get it, and when we get something that everyone approves,
Yeah.
then we can let Wayne know what it is, in addition to the...
Well, and he's right too. It's a state RSA, clean wood only, 5 inches in diameter or less is what the sign up there now says. No pressure treated, painted, plywood, blah blah blah. We've all seen the sign. New Hampshire the Beautiful, New Hampshire the Beauty, whatever it is. So another sign that is posted in the same place that says, burn pit dumping.
Right, we can post it
Limited.
around town, and
Yeah.
once we get it agreed to.
Yeah.
So can you take a stab at that? What we,
I'll take a stab at it with
all those in
Julie,
favor of that?
and we'll pass it over to you guys
Yeah.
after the meeting and see how you feel about it, and we can tweak it, and once we get to where we're all good with it, we can put some signage up and get back to the job on assisting and helping.
Right, you have any input into that thought for lunch?
You don't want to know.
Well, no, that's what we're here for. I may not agree, but if you want to let us know why you don't agree with it or whatever, that's fine.
That's why there's a hydraulic hoist underneath it, so I don't have to offload it by hand.
Residents have access to the burn pit using trucks up to 1 ton with the bed no longer than 12 feet. All burnable wood must be no larger than 5 inches in diameter and must be unloaded by hand.
You've got it.
Does that cover everything?
Yeah. In my mind, it does.
It's yours. Tweak it. It was given to you. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
jump on your
We
job.
put a coffee machine is what I'll do.
I'll pass this right over to you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Okay, so that's that.
In fact, I'll just go ahead and make a motion that that be our policy.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm the least familiar, I need all of you to make sure I'm not
Yeah.
ignoring anything that
Well, we'll
needs...
take that and we'll pass it around.
Okay.
Right, yeah,
And we can-
yeah, I think that's because
Digest
that
it.
is the main
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, Burr, I told him not to comment first because I knew Wayne would be here to take a little while, but I think he just pulled in. I guess so we can basically go on to the ordinances and the policy reviews. The reason that's on there is we get complaints from the transfer station for people not recycling. And what do you see about us? Well, we can't handle that the same way we have been handling it. So the police chiefs are now going to have to do that kind of on their own and centralize.
Yeah, our chief had a problem with the letters because of the way the information was gathered. And it has to be in a legal manner, that is, you can't just go in. So we didn't sign the letters, we have them, but we didn't sign them. You guys understand that. Okay.
So you haven't signed any of them? Well, probably that's why I haven't been getting repeat offenders.
We haven't offended anybody.
List to our chief.
Yeah, so if we can have those back,
Absolutely.
now,
And it's basically the same letter, but on a different
paper. Yeah.
But it has to come from the police.
Right.
And they have to keep that information to themselves. Right. Right. And that's what it's on the up and up. And I think, that, you know, it's difficult with mandates that, to an extent, are impossible to always enforce. And now we get back to talking about an enforcement issue with added on to the job description, which is different than a service coming from a place of how can I help you. And so, you know, I've been there too. I've seen, you know, campgrounds back their stuff up to the compactor, and you hear the clinking and you hear the clicking and you know what's in there, and it's like, it puts somebody in a really awkward position. And that's, I think, a larger conversation we can have later in the meeting when we get to agenda item 7 as far as pay-as-you-throw, because pay-as-you-throw is all about you put whatever you want in that. And throw it right in the compactor, and that's your choice, and nobody's going to force you or tell you what to do.
But we're not asking those the crew to enforce the ordinances, they're just going to, they report the wisdom.
Right.
And have the chief know, so.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is we're mandating things that we really can't, that just haven't been enforced and probably never going to be successful at enforcing. And so that's a more philosophical question, and I don't expect to tackle that today.
But if we get complaints, you're still in agreement with having the chief send the letters.
Yeah, I have no problem, as long as that goes through the appropriate channels and not the inappropriate ones. We don't have an issue with that at all. It takes us right out of it, so.
All right,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
That takes 3. Fitner? Yeah. For fun, okay. I guess we're looking for a
Rep chair.
general around
I think John is still out on the
I don't
14th
know.
hole or something.
You had smoke detectors on your list of things to talk about, and I don't know what that's all about, so. On your agenda that you had originally said smoke detectors.
Fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, tires, aluminum storage containers.
Yeah, I guess we can start with some of those ones that just, I just had some conversations with Don. He was basically, Don probably explained better than I can, though, that they're taking smoke detectors for no charge, something along those lines.
Oh, you're talking about taking them in.
Yeah.
Put them out.
Just, here's where it comes from. We were trying to clear out space so we could put the containers in, and now we're seeing this couple of Gaylord boxes full of fire extinguishers and other things. And so I'm asking why don't we just get rid of these things instead of because we keep seeming to shove them around out of the way. But apparently there's a charge to get rid of these things, but yeah, they keep coming in, so we just...
John didn't get rid of them, he stored it.
Okay.
And I had boxes of them.
Gaylord boxes.
Fire extinguishers, Marilyn told me, are about $8 to $10 a piece to get rid of. Smoke detectors are about the same.
That's why we started.
Pardon?
That's why we separated smoke detectors.
They have a radioactive chip in it. And so To get rid of those, it's also around $10, $12 a piece to get rid of. And we take them in for free.
It's more than they cost to buy new.
Pardon?
It's more than they cost to buy new.
Yeah, but it's because of that radio chiplet. And John has boxes of them in the back room.
Do people separate them? I mean, people come out
Most
and
people
say,
come in and give them to us. The same thing with the mercury,
Fluorescent bulbs.
yeah, fluorescent bulbs, but the thermostats that have mercury in them and mercury switches, we have to put those in a box, and once a year, if we have just 1 or 100, we just mail them out and they don't charge us for it.
What's in the fire extinguisher that's...
You can take the powder out and put it in the metal pile. The problem is most of the ones that come in are still pressurized, and when you try to get the powder out, it goes everywhere. So it irritates your eyes and your throat if you breathe it in. So that's why it's been stored.
But what's in the fire extinguisher that doesn't allow it to just go to the landfill?
The powder.
Did they say
I'm
we
not sure
can't?
what the chemical is in there.
Has anyone told us we can't send it to the landfill?
Yes, it cannot go into the scrap metal unless it's a,
Not scrap metal, just,
oh, you can't put them in the compactor. You can put the powder in there and send it, but you have to get the powder out. And when it's pressurized,
Can't
it
put a
doesn't
pressurized
go
container into the compactor and send it to the landfill. How many of these things roughly do we have? I mean, 100, 50?
Oh, I'm going to say I'm going to say we probably have about 300 or so.
Oh, for fire extinguishers.
Fire extinguishers.
And they're coming in still.
And so they're coming in and somebody's saying, here's my fire extinguisher. They're not putting it in the compactor.
No, some people do it, some just throw it over in the metal pile. But,
Do we know how other towns handle this? Are they something you can bring to Conway once a year for hazardous waste? Or not ours, but I mean, what do residents do in other towns when they want to get rid of those things?
I think they charge
Okay.
to take them in, and then they send them out. And you can go to a class to take the little radioactive chips out of the smoke detectors, but
Like in
I don't know who wants to do that.
Concord.
Yeah, but I don't know who wants to sit there and flip those things up.
How many of those do we have?
Oh,
Same numbers, hundreds?
I have totes that John had stacked up in the back room when they used to be up on top shelf there, but when we cleaned up, there's totes. And I think it's like $36 for a special box that you put them in, and then they charge you the $8 to $10 per smaller one after you buy the box.
How much the chips out? And then you can put them in the compactor.
And what do we do with the chips? A smaller box?
I would imagine,
We don't know.
I didn't go farther down that avenue because I didn't know who wants to sit there and sniff out.
but why wouldn't someone want to sniff? What's the problem with sniffing out the chip?
It's radioactive. I don't want to blow at night.
Yeah.
Have you heard from anybody else how they handle it?
Some of the classes I've been to, people have asked, and they said they just charge and ship them out.
Charge the cost of the shipping. Determine what that is. And then ship them out.
All right, well, can you find that out, exactly what it does cost, what the costs are?
Yeah, I do have it on the computer at home, so I have talked to Marilyn.
But it's not right I guess we'll have to decide what we want to do now.
I also wrote down to call Interstate Fire. They're over in East Conway. They do fire systems, but they may have an outlet for used spot, but I don't know, they must get them also. And I don't know if they just bring them up to us and pass them in, or if they have a way of either recycling them or, but I'll give them a call and see if I can find something.
Well, if our goal is that we are a transfer station and we're transferring waste from coming to us to where it needs to get to, whether it's recyclables or landfills, then it's, I think, reasonable for us to establish what the cost is for handling that and charge residents.
So yeah, that's why
And I can go ahead and make that motion today, and then we can go ahead when we do determine what that cost is. We've got us all on the same board as approving that that's the way we want to handle it, and so we can stop. Once we determine that cost, we can post that, and we don't have to take it anymore.
The only reason, I don't have any problem with that, but if I'm curious as to what, you can refill fire extinguishers.
Why are people throwing away functioning fire extinguishers?
The small ones, it's cheaper to buy a new one than it is to have it charged.
We could say that we will only accept fire extinguishers that have been discharged, but then that's another enforcement issue.
Right.
Who's going to be checking to see if they're discharged?
Yeah. And as we transition, we want them to be as efficient as possible on everything they get pulled away from.
Exactly.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Well, so if you want, the motion is that we charge
Motion
something.
that we determine what the cost
Yeah,
is.
that's what Don's gonna do.
Handling one of those and pass that cost along to the residents that need.
Second,
That's
A second.
All those in favor? Okay. Tires, you've taken one load.
Yep, and it was around 22 ton. And we probably have at least another 2 loads back there.
Is now we haven't gotten a bill for that. When did they go? Which is a good thing, I'm not pushing. I didn't know if there was a new deal out there where it was free, but.
I'm going to say probably a month and a half ago.
Okay, we haven't, because I checked with Brenda just to make sure. So I knew you said we shipped one, and I didn't remember signing a check to pay for it, so we haven't, not that I'm pushing, but just saying.
What's the cost of curiosity to get rid of a couple tons, whatever that was?
The 22 ton was around $3,000.
And you got 2 more.
And I have probably about 2 more.
And you're supposed to only have like a year's worth or something like that. So I was keeping for a year.
You can have, I think it's 5,000 tires, but they're supposed to all be stacked up. They're supposed to be
Top stack is
Yes,
falling
berms.
over.
Covered.
Yeah,
They're supposed to be in
take on
berms.
water,
Yeah.
People keep stealing the cups.
Covers.
Yeah.
We haven't covered this, now they keep stealing the cups.
So that's why when I get that cleaned up back there, then we're going to put a container back there, one of the older ones we have, and you get 50 to 75 tires in there. You call, they come and they hand load them, and they'll take those out. And it's in a container, metal container that has doors, so you don't have to have the state and fire regulations.
So we should caught up and keep up.
Yeah. And then just keep having to do it. Lancaster does it and a few other.
So I would want to get rid of at least, until we get a little more settled, at least one more.
Yeah.
So people can have them all one more.
So have them haul one more.
Yeah.
And that'll take us down to one estimate of one more $3,000 load after that.
And then move it out, start.
I'll get you the exact price. It was a little less than 3,000.
So in the other, that all weighed into trying to make space for containers, moving things out of the way, and moving the aluminum was another item that's in the trailer. And Don Hackman mentioned it. Looks like you're about ready to sell a load of aluminum, so I was half thinking maybe the aluminum, I don't know, $15,000, $16,000 for a load of aluminum to help offset some of these other costs if we happen.
So they kind of get that.
The aluminum?
It's getting close.
Not yet. We're getting close.
Oh, okay.
Before the end of the year.
What is that? We do have.
And the status containers, what's the status for that?
So we pretty much
Unused.
Yeah, so so they're on order or whatever you want to call them. They're on hold. They're all lined up for us,
Right.
and everything. We just were focused on getting the transfer
Yeah,
station
no, I got that.
paved and cleaned out. And so as soon as, I'm gonna be away for most of next week, but as soon as I get back, I actually came up with a little plan, a layout plan. I'll go over with Don. I don't know if you guys want to look at it. But when I get back, Pat and I'll go out there and really clean out the spot for it and get it delivery.
As soon as the trailers get there, one of those should be putting tires in, right?
No, I have one.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I have one that was an old,
Have you started putting tires in that now?
not yet because I don't have room to put it because they would be close to the burn pit and the tires have to be at least 100 feet from the burn pit.
Even in the container? Okay.
I wouldn't imagine, I only want to move it once.
And you have to wait for all of the next two loads to go before you can start using the container, or will one load make it possible to start?
I think if he pulls this next one and I have him do it between the burn pit and the tires, then
Then you
we
can
get
start
that in
using
there.
that
Yeah.
container.
And then we have a lot of tires that are buried that the police department was using for shooting. The sand has to be done before we can get rid of those.
We're dealing with stuff up there that represents years of just misuse. And it's great to finally, come to the way to use that transfer station, recycling center efficiently, but we're undoing a lot of stuff.
Don't get me started on that one. That's just, yeah.
Don't do it, Bob.
Thanks.
I'm already
All right, I'll hold your hand over my mouth.
saying shooting range more than once. But no, it's everywhere we look, whether it's smoke detectors or it's fire
Yeah, that's a new one to me.
tires. It's exciting to think we're actually talking about that and committed to cleaning that all up. Are we still on ordinances and policies?
No, no, we're back on Ver.
Oh, okay.
Just, I think, with Ver, unless you have,
Yeah, no, I have some sketches for the layout of where the containers would go. People want to look at.
Yeah.
I can leave them for it.
Yeah.
Hang out, whatever.
look at,
Nice.
So when we're looking at this map, is this where the tires are right now?
Yeah.
Right over here?
Wait, they're way
Way
further
back
out there, yeah.
I
So-
need to orient myself.
So basically on this is the building, and this is the new racetrack around the building. And,
I've heard.
no, but this, the existing loading dock's over here, so I was suggesting we putting it over here, so people can come around and back up to it, and they'll only, they will be a little bit in the edge of the access road going out, but it keeps them relatively on the pavement. And then the containers are gonna go basically back in the corner of the thing, laid out there. There's enough room there for, looks like, I'm showing 6 containers, but with a gap of 10 feet between them, so you could either put another container in between them, make it 9, or if you wanted to build those, people are building roofs across the 2 containers and then making that another one out of the, basically out of the weather.
maybe there's a question.
The two on the left, can those be lined up instead of opposite?
Well, it's just looking at loading to get the forklift into that lowest one, so that's why I pushed it over a little bit further than the other one.
Can we push the other one? So plowing wise, it makes no sense if they're lined up too much straight by one.
Yeah, we can't, well, the problem is it gets pretty wet off there, so if we push the other one back, we're probably gonna get over the bank and into
Or
the white
like,
area.
and push this one back.
Yeah, I mean, if we pull the other one forward, then it just makes it tougher on the guys coming out, so I originally had it all square it up. And I said, well, I'm just making it square for the sake of making it square, and it's actually worked better. So that's why.
But there is a logical reason to try to make it square, so at least, could you at least look at it to see if moving one way or the other? Or
Is
maybe
it, so we're gonna move this one over and then this one up, so you've still got,
Well, what it is actually the distance to the loading dock ramp is the issue. When this comes back, it starts getting tight to come out of there. I can do that. I'll square it because that's what you want.
I mean,
There's an aisle between the two,
Right.
so that snow, at least if it comes off roofs or whatever, it could be pushed between them. But, and then snow can come out and be deposited over here too while it's cleared out of the big hole.
But I think that's a good suggestion to square it up. However you have to do it, you may have to move the loading ramp or what. So you start out with the goal of squaring it up and then however you have to.
yeah.
Any other comments on that at the moment?
No, I was really wanting to go on,
Yeah.
see what works for him.
Right.
Snow removal was my biggest concern of this layout, but it was just a matter of fitting everything in there and keeping the loading dock out of the way.
So is this all
Show the semis come in.
Okay. Drop off cardboard.
The paper, they're waiting for the containers to come before they start recycling, before they start bailing.
Bailing, okay.
Bailing.
Doesn't make sense to start until these are in.
Right, they had no place to put paper bail, so they're basically saying, let's get containers in and then turn them in.
And then they'll start recycling it here.
Right.
And right now it's still back here. It's,
Still in that first, yeah.
and it goes from there to the compactor. Is that what we're doing with it?
No, I think it's wait your haul, take it away, right?
Are we, it's a roll-off container.
Right.
Right
No.
now, it's,
Oh, okay.
it's cheaper to send it
It's-
than to have them come and all that.
Okay. So where is
Hopefully that's
it?
gonna change.
Yeah, so is it going, where is it going from?
It goes to Berlin right now.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, we're all set on bird stuff. Really, we're all set. And
Thank you, Bill.
are we, I just have a question, are we down up there, face, what we,
Yeah, the only loose ends we have left are containers, which was kind of bad on to this
Well,
place,
yeah.
but some pavement striping, a few signs, we want to probably do a little bit better on signage, and that's basically it.
okay,
I think budget-wise, I think we're good.
we're doing striping?
Well, we're gonna do some striping so the car people will park lined up instead of having like they do now.
That's the one thing
People need
remember,
guns.
when it's busy up there, everybody's parking every which way. So we've got some diagonal spots.
Somehow we think striping is possible.
We'll find out.
Excuse me, I don't mean to laugh at that, okay, okay. That's at least, shows an effort, I guess.
Yeah.
I think people will follow
Yeah.
the stripes a little bit, you know, I mean, more so than everybody's got their own opinion of what they think works.
Right.
And they don't all go together.
Okay.
So how much discussion on the angle of the striping has there been?
None.
Oh, because I'm seeing it as a flow pattern. If you're driving around like this and back, you go in the truck, I'm going to back into that parking space. So if the angle was the other way, I would come in and then just drive one way. Is that clear? I mean, does that make sense? Whether you agree or not?
How do most people come in? How are they backing in or going forward?
Right now, they're coming in and they're pulling in towards the building and they're pulling in towards the side of the.
So that the way that's angled right now is the way people are currently parking?
Pretty much. Then once again, you'll get the people that just pull right in and stop right in the middle.
Go
But
across.
this, so you don't think they should do it this way on this side?
Okay, I just wondered, for me, because I go with a pickup truck and everything's in the back, I would drive by and then back into a spot. So if the lines were this way, I'd back right into it and then drive away.
I think nose in makes a lot of sense.
People have to go up a little further when it's nose in, but that's sort of tradition. I mean, I've been to several of the transfer stations where they do exactly this diagonal parking, and it's always.
I'm still going to back in, I just, well, you got those
Like that, we just take two spaces instead of one.
Well, they have that same back. Well, if you run both lines, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Vicky?
Yes, Greg Allen at the Bartlett School asked me to bring up with you, and I guess mostly with you, they used to have access, was it a key and now it's a combination lock, or the opposite way? That they could come in during off hours to unload. So his first concern is, have they done something that made your job harder? And they don't want to, when they're dumping, they don't want to do anything that makes it harder for everybody else.
Ricky asked me about a key.
Everybody down there, he's got a hot date.
No, I don't have that date, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have.
I have one, so let's give it a move.
I don't think there's anything else.
So Ricky had asked you already.
My concern is that they're going to be putting stuff where it's supposed to be.
Okay, and historically, have they not done that?
I've never seen them or heard of them coming in when we're closed. They always come when we're open.
Okay, but he said that prior to the change in the locking system, they like to come first thing in the morning before school starts, so that when they're needed at school for, vomit and things like that, they're there. So you think
There's a key box there.
Okay.
And there's a combination of it, and there's a key in that box, and it's been that way for years.
So nothing has changed recently?
Maybe the combination, yes.
Okay.
I still have a problem with anybody going in off hours.
Oh, I do too, right?
I just don't like the idea of it.
Well, their perception is that something has changed and they're concerned that they have done something wrong.
I don't think that they've done anything wrong, but we had some general conversations around use outside of business hours, and that
You give it to one,
we felt like, right. And that was the biggest thing. And they were like, came up as an issue, and we dealt with it all throughout the winter and fall, and so it was nothing personal directly to anybody.
Just Tom Jackson wouldn't go along with it. We pushed as hard as we could.
It was all the
Jackson School can, but Bartlett can't. I won't say that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. It's not because of anything that they've done
No.
specifically, it's nothing personal,
It's
it's
just a
general.
policy that we'd like to have.
I'm happy to relay that information, thank you.
Transfer
things
station,
up.
expiration date, transfer station stickers, that was on your list.
I think that was just kind of a general thing that came out of some office discussions. Were you privy to any of that?
Yeah, it was something about, if people are holding onto their stickers, selling a car and keeping a sticker on. I don't know how much it impacts. I don't think anybody buys a used car just so they get
Good dumpster.
a Jackson Bartlett sticker.
Well, they just seem to get issued to whoever comes in and wants to sign off with an address. And so is that enough of a control over who has those things? Or is it?
Well, most recently, I had a report of someone who has now left town who is still using the transfer station. I don't know if that's a very small thing or if that's a larger thing we
Yeah.
need to address.
And I think we've got a boatload of stickers, but I don't know.
As long as they pay their fees, I think we should let them,
They're not in the trash.
Right.
Feed
no
for
trash.
But I do think, at some point, and I've been talking about this for years, we've not done it, because it's hard enough, they've got enough to do up there. I've always thought we should like to find someone to go up there part-time a day, a month, just to monitor the stickers. Because we keep, some of these people here are from Conway.
Right.
So obviously everyone up there does not have dump stickers.
Right.
And that should be the first thing. Is someone stands at the bank, no dump sticker, no dumping, and enforce that. Because I don't know how much of that stuff we're getting. For instance, people that live in Intervale in North Conway, it's closer for them to come to Ladder than it is Conway. I don't know how much of that we see once in a while.
We see it, yeah. We see it.
And there's too much for them to be able to, when they notice it, they write it down, that you can't monitor.
We get a lot of people who rent Airbnb, come in, whip their phone out, and they show you the picture. Well, I can walk up to a car in Walmart and snap a picture and say, here, there's my sticker.
Right. Right. So how do you handle that? I think that's where that whole discussion came about. If you've got a dump sticker that's on the transfer station sticker, sorry, that's got a 2-year expiration date on it, and you have to go back in every couple of years or whatever, then that allows a little bit more control over users from outside town.
Yeah.
I mean,
Normally you can tell the renters because they will come up and
Yeah.
ask where
Right.
things go, and some of them, they tell people they have to put it in plexiglass
well, do
and bring it.
do you, does it
I like that.
Does it feel to you like we need to do something different and new with our stickers, or so that we can be more regulatory, or are we okay with that?
I think we're all right now. Yeah, you said you had like
Because we don't need to talk about it any further.
No, I would like us to at least think about having someone up there, I don't know, if it's a day, a month, or something, just to monitor stickers.
Just, but we know it happens.
You do as best you can, but that's not your, and I don't want one of you people taking a whole day, I'm talking about someone, that's all they're gonna do.
And you're meeting right down at the gate, so they're
Well, no, I guess not at the beginning, probably when they pull in or something, but yeah.
because there is a sign up there that says it must be properly displayed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think if, and once the word gets around, that's what we're doing, so I'm not proposing to do it right now, but
Okay.
if we can think about that and find someone like Ben that might want an extra day or something. Oh, Ben's still here.
We lost all our other audience.
I was thinking, hey,
I see that. Yeah, there we go. Well, Wayne left too.
That is one. These
Letters to residents. So
We can
that-
get on the community service list too and have people do it for free.
Right. Is that, covered, the letter said we already covered, right? That's what you intended to talk about.
There is a letter about groups going up there as fundraisers. Maybe we can get them to, spot stickers.
All right, sure. Yeah. Let's see, 7, we can skip over that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, go ahead.
He's being funny, go ahead.
You went to the meeting, did you go to the meeting?
You had said you were going to it.
I did go down to the workshop, I did go to the workshop, and I learned a lot about pay-as-you-throw, and there seems to be a fair number of towns moving in that direction, and in general, it's clearly understood by folks in the business that the recycling market is, tanked in some areas, and it is always fluid. And that's what I like about our setup, is that we are poised to always deal with some of that flexibility with our base. But as far as pay-as-you-throw goes, it's a different way of looking at how a transfer station handles waste, which is something that has no recycling value and only cost connected with it. Most commonly that cost is in the form of tipping fee and hauling charges. And so pay-as-you-throw is about looking at a transfer station more as a utility, okay? So Vicki and I are next door neighbors, and I've super insulated my house. I only heat with wood that I go out and cut for free. And she has a poorly insulated house with terrible windows that leak, and she heats with electric baseboard. And so
I'm off the grid, you
Somebody
gotta give me the wood burn
comes
house.
to me and says, okay, flip it. She is conservation minded. And somebody proposes that we take our electric bills in the winter and we combine them and split them up 50-50. Okay, so how happy is the conservation-minded user going to be about that? So nobody would take that deal, but frequent and often users are paying the same out of their taxes as people who compost everything they possibly can, recycle everything they possibly can, and throw as little into the compactor as they possibly can. And both of those people are paying the same amount based on their valued home. So say the homes were the same. So it's a different way of looking at how a transfer station is used, page and throw is. And so it requires an awareness campaign. It requires us to educate ourselves as well as the people in our towns as why that's a good thing for us. And as Dennis Patno will tell you up in Lancaster, their waste hauling dramatically dropped when they turned into a page to throw. Now, part of that, he'll also freely admit, was that it's not a business-friendly way to handle waste. But if somebody's picking something up on the side of the road to haul for somebody, private collector, they pick up page and throw bags. And they come and they toss them in the compactor. The bag's already paid for. So I think that it's the best way to incentivize recycling and to turn that transfer station into a true recycling, reusing facility that is as efficient as any of them are that serve towns our size.
I mentioned that I don't want to put you on the spot. Did you bring back any materials from that?
Yeah, did Julie leave those PDFs, Dick, in your pile that were at our meeting yesterday?
Oh, if you could find them, I would like to look at some of the stuff at least. See what's changed and
Well, they were educational materials. She said they were in your packet. No?
So don't worry about it now.
We get them to do. I mean, the bottom line is, we had stuff from the town of Concord, city of Concord, and examples of what their educational materials were to increase awareness as to why this is a good thing for societies to consider in this day and age.
So I brought it up with a friend of mine who's militant about recycling. She reuses plastic bags. She cleans her aluminum foil. And I thought she would just think this was a wonderful idea. And I was shocked when she said, I'm already paying taxes to handle my garbage. Why do I have to now pay more? How do you respond to something like that?
You're not paying more, you're just paying a different way.
So theoretically taxes could go down?
Yeah, the goal is to have it be a revenue neutral facility, but understanding it's complex and markets fluctuate and everything else. But it's just a different way to pay. Right now, she's